My own son pushed me off a yacht to steal my $3 billion empire, thinking I'd drown like a washed-up old man. But I'm back from the dead to expose his betrayal and a deadly conspiracy. Like, share and subscribe to join my fight for justice. I'm 68, no spring chicken, and life's hit me harder than a fastball to the chest. 2 years ago, cancer stole my Eleanor, my wife of 40 years, leaving me rattling around this lonely Boston apartment like a ghost. All I had left was James, my son, my pride, my legacy. I built a tech empire worth $3 billion, not for fancy cars or big houses, but for him, so he'd never struggle. 2 years back, I gave him $2 million to kickstart his consulting firm, thinking it'd make him proud to carry the Harper name. Guess I was wrong about that. I still see James at 7 swinging a bat in our backyard, all elbows and knees, grinning like he could hit the moon. I'd holler, "That's my slugger," and he'd laugh, pure as sunlight. When he graduated college, I gave him my Rolex, the one Eleanor picked for our 10th anniversary. "You're my pride, son," I said, and his eyes got misty. Those moments keep me going, make me think I did something right as a dad. But after Eleanor passed, James drifted. Calls got shorter, visits rarer. I told myself it was just life, but deep down, I was terrified of losing him, too. Last week, James called his voice warm, like it hadn't been in years. "Dad, let's celebrate you beating that heart surgery," he said. "Got a new yacht, come cruise with me and Clara, like old times." My ticker's been shaky, but 6 weeks post-op. I was itching to feel alive, to feel like a father again. I said yes, faster than you can say Boston Red Sox, but something felt off. James wouldn't look me in the eye when he called, kept glancing away like he was hiding something. It was like a pebble in my shoe nagging me, but I shoved it down. Family's worth fighting for. Right. I put on my best blazer, the one Eleanor called my silver fox look, and took a cab to the marina. Clara was waiting at the dock, all sharp cheekbones and sharper eyes. "Henry," she said, not Dad, with a smile that didn't touch her face. "You're slowing us down," she muttered under her breath, like I was some burden. It stung, but I brushed it off. The yacht was a stunner, gleaming white, probably cost more than my first house. James hugged me, but it felt rehearsed, like he was playing a part. "She's a beauty, huh, Dad?" he said, gesturing to the boat. "Caribbean next month, maybe." I nodded, trying to ignore the chill creeping up my spine. Call it an old man's gut, but something told me I was walking into a trap. If you're with me, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe. I'm about to tell you how my own son betrayed me and how I clawed my way back to make things right. So there I was on James's fancy yacht, the sun glinting off the Atlantic like it was mocking my hope. I'd come here thinking we could be a family again, that maybe my son still saw me as more than an old man with a bad ticker. But the second we sailed out from Boston, that pebble in my shoe from the marina turned into a damn boulder. Clara was pacing the deck, holding her phone like she was filming a documentary, angling it at me every time I took a sip of the whiskey James poured. "Just capturing the moment, Henry," she said, her voice slick as oil. But her eyes, cold as the ocean we were sailing on. James wasn't much better. He kept steering the conversation to my will, all casual-like. "Dad, you ever think about simplifying things? Probate's a nightmare," he said, topping off my glass. Then he dropped the bomb. "Folks are saying you've been hitting the bottle too hard since Mom died." Hitting the bottle? I barely drink. My heart surgery 6 weeks ago had me on a strict no-booze diet. I looked at him, my boy, the one I'd given $2 million to start his firm, and saw a stranger. His jaw was tight, and he wouldn't meet my eyes, just like on that phone call. James. I said, my voice sharper than I meant, I want to head back to shore. Now. That's when Clara laughed a sharp, ugly sound that cut through the sea breeze. Ciao, kamapnyebo. She sneered, her Vietnamese accent making the words bite harder. Before I could react, she stepped behind me, and with one quick shove, I was over the rail, plunging into the icy Atlantic. The cold hit like a sledgehammer, knocking the air out of me. I heard James yell, "Dad," but it was hollow, like he was reading a script. Clara's voice, low and calm, drifted down, "File the petition Monday. He's clearly not fit to manage his estate. $3 billion. That's what this was about. My empire. My life's work, reduced to a paycheck for my own flesh and blood. I thrashed in the water, my blazer dragging me down like a lead weight. My mind flashed to James at 5, clutching my hand at Eleanor's bedside, promising he'd always be my best buddy. Where was that kid now? Had I failed him, or had he failed me? My chest ached, not just from the cold, but from the betrayal slicing deeper than any knife. I was 68, fresh off a heart operation, but damn it, I wasn't ready to go out like this, not for their greed. I kicked hard, breaking the surface, gasping for air, and swore I'd make them pay for this. But the yacht was already speeding away, a white speck against the horizon, leaving me to drown. If you're feeling the sting of this betrayal with me, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe. Because this isn't the end, it's just the start of how I clawed my way back from the deep end. I woke up coughing seawater, burning my lungs, sprawled on the deck of a beat-up fishing boat. My blazer was soaked, my chest screaming from the cold, and that damn heart surgery 6 weeks ago. A grizzled guy, maybe 60, with a face like weathered leather, was staring down at me. "You're one tough old bastard," he said, tossing me a blanket that smelled like fish and motor oil. His name was Liam Carter, a Gloucester fisherman who'd plucked me out of the Atlantic just as I was about to become shark chow. I managed to choke out what happened my own son James and his wife Clara, shoving me off their yacht, all for my $3 billion empire. Liam's jaw tightened, and he muttered, "That's low even for family," but his eyes darted away like he was hiding something, and it set my gut churning. After James's betrayal, I wasn't ready to trust anyone. Liam didn't ask too many questions, just said he'd take me somewhere safe. We pulled up to a small dock, and he led me to a cozy bed and breakfast run by Sophie Tran, a woman in her 70s with a no-nonsense vibe and eyes that could read your soul. "You look like hell, Henry," she said, handing me a mug of coffee and a dry towel. "Men can cry, you know. Doesn't make you less of one." Her words hit harder than I expected. I hadn't cried since Eleanor died, but the sting of James's betrayal was ripping me open. I wanted to scream, to ask why my boy, the one I'd taught to swing a bat and given $2 million to chase his dreams, turned on me like that. But I just clutched that towel, swallowing the lump in my throat. Then I met Emma Collins, a young woman maybe 22, sitting in Sophie's kitchen, her eyes red from crying. She was searching for her sister Lily, who'd vanished after signing up with some shady charity to carry a baby for a rich couple. Emma's voice shook as she described Lily, barely 17, full of hope, thinking she was giving a kid a better life. My heart sank. James and Clara's yacht stunt wasn't just about me. This was bigger, uglier, tied to some kind of twisted scheme. I saw Eleanor in Emma's pain, a kid fighting for family, and it lit a fire in me. I wasn't just some old man past his prime. I'd built an empire from nothing, and I'd be damned if I let James and Clara get away with this, or hurt anyone else. Liam, Sophie. Emma. I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I'm going to find out what they're hiding and make them pay. Liam nodded, but that shifty look in his eyes didn't fade. Sophie squeezed my shoulder like she knew I was carrying more than just a bad heart. Emma looked at me, hope flickering in her eyes. I didn't know it then, but I was stepping into a fight way bigger than my broken family. If you're feeling this fire with me, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe. We're just getting started on this road to justice. You ever feel like you're in way over your head, but there's no turning back? That's me, Harper, 68 years old, fresh off a heart surgery, sneaking into a shady lawyer's office in the dead of night like some damn action movie hero. After James and Clara tried to drown me for my $3 billion, and Sophie and Emma gave me a glimpse of what they're tangled up in, I knew I had to dig deeper. Emma, that kid with the fire in her eyes, was dead set on finding out what happened to her sister Lily. Me, I was hell-bent on making sure my son and his snake of a wife didn't get away with their betrayal. So there we were, two unlikely partners creeping through Gloucester's back streets toward Miranda Vaughan's law office. The woman Emma swore was behind Lily's disappearance. Emma was the brains of this operation. She'd scouted the place, knew the security guard's coffee break like the back of her hand. "Henry, you sure you're up for this?" she whispered, her voice shaky but fierce. I gave her a nod, my ticker pounding like a drum. Back in my CEO days, I'd cracked open more than a few locked doors, figuratively mostly, but I still knew my way around a basic lock. Emma jimmied the back entrance, and I used my old pocket knife to finesse the deadbolt, feeling a spark of the old hustle I thought I'd lost. Inside the office was all sleek glass and mahogany, but it reeked of something rotten. We rifled through files, my hands shaking not from age, but from the fear of what we'd find. Then, jackpot. A folder labeled Collins L. Emma's breath caught as she read it. Lily, her sister, had been lured into a surrogacy deal by Miranda's fake charity, paid to carry a baby for a loving couple. The couple, James and Clara. My own son had bought a kid, Lucas Lily, to play heir to my fortune. The kicker, Lily, died during delivery complications, the file said, but it smelled like murder. Bakies! Another file listed 40 names. Old folks like me, all rich, all dead in accidents over the past 5 years. Miranda wasn't just a lawyer. She was a damn grim reaper cashing in on people's graves. Emma's eyes filled with tears, and I felt my gut twist. Lily was all I had, she whispered. I wanted to hug her, tell her I knew that kind of loss, but time was ticking. Then, a flashlight beam cut through the dark. One of Miranda's goons, a beefy guy with a scar like a bad tattoo, spotted us. "Run!" I hissed, shoving Emma toward the door. We bolted down the alley, my bad heart screaming, his boots pounding behind us. Gloucester's narrow streets twisted like a maze, and I was no match for this guy's speed. Just when I thought we were done for, Liam Carter's old fishing boat roared up at the docks. "Get in!" he yelled, and we scrambled aboard, the goon's curses fading as Liam gunned the engine. I caught my breath, grateful, but then I saw it. Liam's phone lit up with a text from Vaughn. "Status," it read. My blood ran cold. Was the guy who saved me playing both sides? On the boat, Emma clutched the stolen files, her face pale but determined. "They killed her, Henry. For money." I nodded, thinking of James, the boy I'd raised, now mixed up in this blood-soaked scheme. Eleanor would have wept to see him like this, but me, I was done crying. "We're gonna protect that kid, Lucas," I told Emma, my voice hard as steel. "And we're gonna bury Miranda, and anyone else who's part of this." Liam glanced at me, his eyes unreadable, and I wondered if I'd just made a deal with the devil. If you're as pissed as I am about this betrayal, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe. We're going deeper into this mess, and I need you with me. I'm no stranger to gut punches, but seeing that text from Vaughn on Liam's phone hit like a freight train. After Emma and I barely escaped Miranda's goon in that alley, Liam's boat got us out of there, but my old man's gut was screaming, "This guy's not what he seems." Back at Sophie's bed and breakfast, with the smell of her coffee still lingering, I couldn't shake it. Liam had saved me from drowning, sure, but that status message from Miranda Vaughn was burning a hole in my brain. I cornered him in the kitchen, my ticker pounding harder than it had in weeks. "Liam, level with me," I said, voice low. "You working for her?" "For Miranda." His weathered face froze, and for a second I saw guilt flicker in his eyes, like a kid caught stealing cookies. Liam sighed, running a hand through his gray hair. "I owe you the truth, Henry," he said. "Years back, I helped Miranda cover up a job an old guy, Rich, fell off his boat. I was broke, desperate, and she paid good." He looked down, like the memory was a weight he couldn't shake. "When I saw you in the water fighting to live, I saw him. I couldn't let it happen again." His voice cracked, and I swear I saw Eleanor's face in my mind begging me to give him a chance. But James's betrayal still stung like salt in a wound. Could I trust this guy? My heart wanted to, but my head said I'd be a fool to let my guard down. Before I could answer, a crash split the night glass, shattering downstairs. Sophie's voice barked, "Henry! Emma, move!" A hulking shadow burst through the door, one of Miranda's goons, his eyes locked on us like a hunter. Emma grabbed the files we'd stolen, her face pale but fierce. "Go!" Sophie yelled, shoving Emma toward the back window. That woman, 70-something and tougher than nails, stood her ground, brandishing a frying pan like a damn warrior. I helped Emma climb out, my bad heart screaming as we hit the ground outside. Liam was right behind, pulling us toward his truck. "She knows you're alive," he panted, and I caught another glimpse of his phone lighting up another text from Vaughn. My stomach churned. Was he leading us to safety or straight into a trap? We peeled out tires, squealing as the goons' shouts faded. Emma clutched my arm, whispering, "Lily was all I had. Henry, they killed her for that kid, Lucas." Her words cut deep, reminding me of James, the boy I'd raised, now tangled in Miranda's web of murder and greed. I thought of Eleanor, how she'd have fought for that kid, and something in me hardened. "We'll save Lucas," I told Emma, my voice steady despite the chaos. "And we'll make them pay." Liam glanced at me, his eyes heavy with shame, but resolute. I decided to trust him for now, but I'd watch him like a hawk. Nobody was gonna play me for a fool again. If you're raging at this betrayal, like I am, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe. We're digging deeper, and I need you with me to bring these bastards down. You ever sneak into your own house like a thief in the night? That's me, Henry, Harper, 68 years old, heart still shaky from surgery, creeping through the back door of my old Beacon Hill home like I'm dodging a SWAT team. After that close call at Sophie's place with Miranda's goon busting in, I knew I had to see this kid, Lucas Lilly, the baby James and Clara bought, to scam my $3 billion. Emma's files from Miranda's office were burning a hole in my pocket, screaming that this wasn't just about me, it was about a kid caught in their twisted game. My gut told me I had to get to him and inform him before they did something worse than shoving me off a yacht. I slipped in after midnight using the key James never bothered to take back. The house felt like a ghost of itself, same oak floors Eleanor and I picked out. But now it was their stage, not our home. In the living room, I found Hannah, the nurse, dozing on the couch next to a bouncy seat. A tiny baby, maybe 3 weeks old, gurgled softly, his dark eyes wide and serious. Lucas Lilly. My heart stopped. He looked so much like James at that age, it was like a punch to the chest. I remembered taking James fishing on Cape Cod when he was 10, his little hands gripping the rod, laughing when he hooked a flounder. "You're my best buddy, Dad," he'd said, and I'd believed it. Now my boy was a stranger buying a kid to play air, while I was supposed to be fish food. Hannah stirred her eyes, popping open when she saw me. "Mr. Harper," she gasped, clutching her chest. You're dead." I gave her a grim smile. "Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot lately." I told her everything. James and Clara's betrayal, Miranda's murder-for-hire racket, Lily's death to cover their tracks. Hannah's face crumpled, tears spilling as she looked at Lucas. "They told me he was their son," she whispered, voice breaking. "I'm just a single mom trying to do right by kids like him." I saw Eleanor in her that same fierce love for family, and it hit me hard. "You're doing right now," I said, squeezing her hand. "Help me save him." She nodded, wiping her eyes, and I knew I had an ally. I picked up Lucas, his tiny warmth against my chest, sparking something I hadn't felt since Eleanor died. Hope, but also rage. James and Clara thought they could erase me, erase Lily, and turn this kid into a prop for their greed. I thought of Emma, her voice cracking when she said Lily was all I had. Eleanor would have fought tooth and nail for this boy, and so would I. "You're safe with me, Lucas," I whispered, my voice thick. "I swear it." Just then, my burner phone buzzed. Nathan Brooks, the PI. Sophie hooked me up with was on the line. "Henry, you're not gonna like this," he said, his voice tight. "James and Clara are meeting Miranda tomorrow to finalize the transfer of your estate. They're claiming you're a drunk, unfit to manage your money." My blood boiled. Those bastards were moving fast, thinking I was at the bottom of the ocean. Nathan's next words chilled me. "Miranda's got eyes everywhere. You gotta watch your back." I glanced at Hannah, then at Lucas, and felt a fire ignite. They weren't just coming for my money, they were coming for this kid's future. "Hannah," I said, handing Lucas back. "Keep him safe. I'm gonna end this." She nodded, her jaw set, like she was ready for war. I slipped out the back, my heart pounding but my head clear. Miranda might know I'm alive, but she didn't know the fight I was bringing. If you're rooting for Lucas and me to take these snakes down, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe. We're in deep now, and I need you with me. You know that feeling when you're gearing up for a fight you can't back out of? That's where I was. Henry Harper, 68 years old, sitting in Sophie's cramped kitchen, my bad ticker thumping like a war drum. I'd just held Lucas Lilly, that tiny boy James and Clara were using as a pawn in their $3 billion grab, and I swore I'd protect him. After sneaking into my old house, dodging Miranda Vaughn's goons, and learning Liam's dirty past, I was ready to take this fight to the next level. But man, the weight of it all. James's betrayal, Lily's murder, Miranda's body count of 40 old folks like me. It was crushing. I kept seeing Eleanor's face telling me to keep going, to be the man who built an empire from nothing. I wasn't about to let her down. Nathan Brooks, the PI, Sophie hooked me up with, dropped a bombshell over coffee. "Henry, I'm not just a PI," he said, his gray eyes steady. "I'm FBI. Been tailing Miranda for 2 years. My jaw hit the floor. That explained his knack for sniffing out dirt, but it also meant this was bigger than I'd imagined. "She's slippery as an eel," Nathan said. but you're our shot to nail her. She's meeting James and Clara tomorrow at your old house to lock in your estate. Relief washed over me finally, someone with real firepower on my side, but it mixed with dread. Miranda wasn't just a lawyer. She was a cold-blooded killer who'd know I was alive by now. My hands shook not from age, but from the thought of facing James, my boy who'd traded me for a paycheck. Sophie and Emma were all in like soldiers prepping for battle. Sophie, that tough old gal, was rigging my old house with tiny recording devices, her hands steady as she tucked mics behind picture frames. This was Eleanor's house, too, she said, her voice soft but fierce. You're taking it back for her. Her words hit like a shot of whiskey, warming me up. Emma, meanwhile, was at the house with Hannah, the nurse teaching Lucas to sleep quietly in the basement, in case things went south. He's so small, Henry, Emma whispered when she got back, her eyes red. Lily would have loved him. I saw my own pain in her losing someone you'd give the world for, and it fueled me. Those files we stole showed Miranda's plan: frame me as a drunk, seize my fortune, and God knows what they'd do to Lucas if I didn't stop them. Then Sophie's phone buzzed with a text that made my blood run cold. Harper's alive. Find him. Now. No sender. But we knew it was Miranda's goon squad. Sophie didn't flinch, just shoved her phone in her pocket and said, "Let them come. I've got more frying pans." Emma gripped my arm, her face pale, but set like stone. I thought of James, the kid who once called me his best buddy, now scheming with Clara and Miranda to bury me. Eleanor's voice echoed in my head. Fight for what's right, Henry. I looked at Sophie Emma and thought of Lucas's tiny hand in mine. We're doing this, I said, my voice hard as granite. Tomorrow I'm walking into that house and we're ending this. I wasn't just some washed-up old man. I'd built a fortune, raised a son, and lost a wife. I'd survived the damn Atlantic. Miranda and her snakes didn't know what was coming. If you're ready to see these bastards get what's coming, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe. This fight's about to get real. You ever sit in a room that used to be your whole world, waiting to face the people who tried to bury you alive, and feel your heart doing somersaults? That's me, Henry. Harper, 68 years old, planted in Eleanor's favorite armchair in my old Beacon Hill house. My bad ticker thumping like a bass drum on overdrive. It's been a couple of days since I last saw James and Clara, since they shoved me off their yacht, thinking I'd sink to the bottom with my $3 billion fortune. After dodging Miranda Vaughn's goons at Sophie's place, holding little Lucas Lily in my arms, and hearing Nathan's warning about their meeting to steal my estate, I knew I had to face them head-on. Nathan's FBI crew had wired the house with mics, and Sophie and Emma were set to keep Lucas safe downstairs. But as I sat there, the silence was deafening, and the weight of it all, James's betrayal. Eleanor's memory, the kid they bought to replace me, pressed down like a ton of bricks. Society says guys like me, pushing 70 with a shaky heart, gotta stay tough, no cracks in the armor. But sitting there, I felt every crack. I wanted to yell, to ask James why he'd traded me his best buddy from those fishing trips on Cape Cod for a pile of cash. Eleanor's voice whispered in my head, soft and pleading, "Be the man I married, Henry." But the hurt from that icy plunge still burned. The front door clicked open, and there they were, James and Clara, strolling in like they owned the place, which they thought they did after faking my death. Clara froze, her sharp face draining of color, her mouth dropping like she'd seen a ghost. "Henry," she screeched, her voice grating like nails on a chalkboard. "You're supposed to be dead, you useless old man." That hit me like a punch to the gut, stirring up the shame I'd felt since my heart surgery made me feel less than whole. I clenched my fists, forcing down the sting. James just stood there, keys dangling in his hand, his jaw slack like a fish out of water. "Dad!" he croaked, his eyes wide with shock. For a heartbeat, I saw my boy, the kid who laughed when he caught his first flounder, the one I gave my Rolex to when he graduated, calling him my pride. His hand twitched like he wanted to reach out, but then Clara snapped, "Shut up, James." Her voice was a whip, and his shoulders slumped, choosing her over me again. My chest tightened. Was there still a piece of that kid left, or had greed swallowed him whole? I leaned back in the chair, willing my voice to stay steady. "Surprise kids," I said, my tone dry as dust. "Reports of my death." "A little premature. I know about Lucas, your bought and paid for heir, and Miranda's racket 40 dead old folks, including Lily Collins." Clara's eyes flared with panic, but she tried to play it cool, stepping forward with that icy smirk. "You're delusional, Henry. No one's gonna buy a drunk's ravings." James flinched, his gaze dropping to the floor, and I saw a flicker of doubt, maybe regret. "Dad, I didn't mean for it to," he started, his voice shaky, but Clara cut him off with a glare that could freeze hell. "Don't be weak, James," she hissed, her tone dripping with contempt. My heart broke all over again. Could I forgive him? Eleanor would have wanted me to her gentle hand on my shoulder from those days he'd mess up as a teen. But every time I pictured that yacht, the water closing over me, my resolve hardened. He'd stood by while Clara tried to kill me, and that's a line I can't unsee. I played my next card, leaning in like I was tired of the fight. "I'm open to a deal," I lied, knowing the mics were catching every word. "Give me Lucas, and I'll sign over the estate fair trade." Clara laughed cold and sharp, like glass breaking. "You're in no position to bargain, old man. Lucas is ours, and you're done." But James hesitated, his hands trembling as he glanced at me. "Dad, maybe we can," he tried, but Clara slapped his arm, her eyes blazing. I said, "Shut up," she barked. I saw it then, their greed, their lies laid bare. My boy was lost a puppet to her ambition, and it tore me up inside. Then Hannah stepped out from the kitchen holding Lucas, his tiny fingers curled around hers. Mr. Harper wanted to meet his real grandson, she said, her voice quivering but firm, like she was staking a claim. Clara lunged forward, her face a mask of fury. "That's our son, you idiot," she snarled, but I stood slow and deliberate, my knees creaking. "Is he Clara, born 3 weeks ago when you were sipping whiskey on that yacht? He's Lily's boy, and you know it." I looked at James, whose face had gone ashen. "You bought him, son, with blood money." Clara's hands balled into fists, her rage boiling over. But James just stared at the floor, silent. The room felt like a pressure cooker, every breath heavy with tension. I wondered if Miranda would burst through that door, finishing what they started, or if James might find the guts to turn back. My mind raced. Could I save my boy from himself, or was he too far gone? Eleanor's memory urged me to try, but the cold truth of his choice kept me grounded. This was about Lucas now, about giving him a life free from their shadow. If you're feeling this gut punch with me, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe. The real fight's just around the corner, and I need you with me to see it through. You ever sit in a room where the air feels thick enough to choke on, knowing you're staring down a devil in a suit? That's me, Henry Harper, 68 years old, perched in Eleanor's old armchair in my Beacon Hill house, my bad ticker hammering like a freight train about to derail. I'd just faced James and Clara, my son, and his cold-hearted wife, who thought they'd drowned me for my $3 billion. The mics Sophie and Emma rigged are buzzing, catching every word, as I play the long game, pretending to negotiate to keep them hooked. James's face was a mess of guilt and fear, his fist clenching like he was fighting some inner battle. But Clara's venom, calling me a useless old man, still stung like a slap. Now the front door creaks open, and in strides Miranda Vaughn, the puppet master, pulling their strings. She's smaller than I pictured, all sharp edges in a tailored blazer, her smile like a blade wrapped in silk. "Mr. Harper," she purrs, "you're a tougher old bird than I thought." My gut twists into knots. This woman's behind 40 murders, including Emma's sister Lily, and she's here to tie up her loose ends, starting with me. I lean forward, forcing a grin that feels like a mask, the tiny recorder in my pocket weighing a ton. "Let's talk business, Miranda," I say, keeping my voice steady. "I'll sign over the estate if you let Lucas go fair deal, right?" Her laugh cuts through the room, sharp and brittle, like glass shattering on tile. "Oh, Henry, you're adorable," she sneers, stepping closer, her heels clicking like a countdown. 40 clients, all resolved. Lily Collins, heart failure during delivery, so tragic. Your money's already ours, and you're just a loose end we'll tidy up. She pulls out a sleek tablet, scrolling through names and dates, her voice casual as if she's reading a grocery list. Elderly, wealthy, inconvenient, 40 of them gone in accidents. You're number 41 unless you sign now. My blood boils. She's boasting about murder like it's a business plan, and I think of Lucas's tiny hands, Emma's tears, and the life Lily lost. Inside, I'm screaming, wanting to grab her by the collar and shake the truth out. But I hold it together, knowing Nathan's FBI team is listening, waiting for the kill shot. Then it all goes to hell. The kitchen door slams open, and a goon big as a linebacker with a scar slashing his cheek storms in, gun drawn. "Time's up, old man." He growls, his voice gravelly, leveling the barrel at my head. My heart lurches, my ticker's not built for this kind of adrenaline rush. I see my life flash. Eleanor's smile, James's childhood grin, the cold Atlantic closing over me. Before I can move, Liam Carter, that weathered fisherman with a guilty past, lunges between us. The gunshot cracks like a thunderclap, and Liam crumples, blood soaking his shirt as he hits the floor. "Run, Henry," he gasps, his hand clutching the wound eyes, locking with mine. I freeze, torn between shock and a flood of something I can't name, gratitude, maybe, or pity. Liam, the guy I barely trusted after his confession about covering up a murder for Miranda, just took a bullet for me. For my kid, he whispers, his voice fading, and I remember him telling me about his lost son. The guilt that's haunted him. He's fighting for redemption, and it hits me hard. Downstairs, Emma's voice crackles through my earpiece, steady but strained. "He's safe, Henry. Hannah's got him." I hear a soft coo, Lucas tucked away in the basement with those 2 brave women. Emma's whispering to him, promising he's okay, while Hannah's probably holding him tight, her single mom grit shining through. Their courage keeps me from losing it. I duck behind the couch as the goon swings his gun, Clara shrieking, "Finish him, you idiot!" James stumbles back, his face pale, muttering, "Dad, I didn't want this," but Clara slaps him hard. "Shut up, you weakling!" She snaps, her voice dripping with disdain. I want to believe there's a shred of my boy left, the one who called me best buddy, but he's still letting her pull the strings, still choosing cash over me. I stall for time, yelling, "Miranda, you're done! The FBI's got your confession on tape." Her smirk falters, her eyes darting to the hidden mics she can't see. I think of Eleanor, her voice in my head urging me to stand tall, and Lucas, that innocent kid I've sworn to protect. The goon steps closer, his finger tightening on the trigger, and I brace myself, wondering if this is it. But then sirens wail in the distance, growing louder, and I know Nathan's cavalry is coming. Will they make it in time? Is Lucas really safe down there? I'm no action hero, just an old man who's survived the odds, and I'm not backing down now. If you're on the edge of your seat with me, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe. This fight's about to wrap up, but I need you to see the finish line with me. You ever feel like the world's spinning out of control? Then suddenly slams into place, like a door shutting tight. That's me, Henry Harper, 68 years old, hunkered down behind my old couch in my Beacon Hill house, my bad ticker thumping like a bass drum gone wild. Miranda Vaughn's voice still echoes in my head, bragging about 40 murders, Emma's sister Lily among them, while her goon's gun was aimed square at my chest. Liam Carter, that weathered fisherman who'd taken a bullet for me, was bleeding out on the floor, his sacrifice tearing at my gut. James, my son, stood there, frozen, his face pale as milk, while Clara screamed for that goon to finish it. I was clinging to the hope that Nathan's FBI crew was on their way, that the mics Sophie and Emma rigged caught Miranda's confession. I'm no action star, just an old man who's lost his wife Eleanor and his boy to greed. But I wasn't about to let them take Lucas Lilly, that innocent kid, too. Then, out of nowhere, the front door bursts open like a dam breaking. FBI, drop your weapon! A woman's voice, Agent Sarah Chan, cuts through the chaos, sharp and commanding. Black-clad agents swarm in guns drawn, moving like a well-oiled machine. Miranda's goon doesn't stand a chance. He's tackled to the ground before he can pull the trigger, his gun skittering across the floor. Miranda herself tries to bolt her heels, clicking a frantic rhythm toward the kitchen, but two agents are on her like hounds on a scent. She stumbles, her icy smile shattering as they pin her down. Miranda Vaughn, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, wire fraud, elder abuse, and racketeering, Sarah says, snapping cuffs on her wrists with a satisfying click. I feel the recorder in my pocket, heavy with her confession, every word of those 40 killings, every lie about Lily's heart failure. My hands shake not from fear, but from the weight of it all. James and Clara are next. Clara thrashes like a wild cat, her sharp nails clawing at the air as agents cuff her. You'll never prove a damn thing, she spits, her voice dripping with venom, her face a mask of rage. James just slumps his shoulders, sagging as the cuffs click shut. Dad, I'm sorry, he mumbles, his voice cracking, barely audible over Clara's shrieks. I look at him, the boy I taught to fish on Cape Cod, the one I gave my Rolex to when he graduated, and my chest aches. His eyes are wet, pleading, and for a split second I see my best buddy from those sunny days. But then I remember the yacht, the cold water, his silence, as Clara pushed me over. You made your bed, son, I say, turning away, my voice rough. Eleanor's voice whispers in my head, Forgive him, Henry, but the hurt's too fresh. I can't. Not today. The basement door creaks open, and Emma steps out, cradling Lucas in her arms, with Hannah right behind. Lucas's tiny hands clutch Emma's shirt, his dark eyes calm amid the storm. He's safe, Henry, Emma says, her voice steady but thick with emotion, like she's carrying Lily's spirit with her. Hannah's face is streaked with tears, but she's smiling, her single mom grit shining through. I couldn't let them hurt him, she whispers, her voice breaking as she brushes Lucas's cheek. I take him from Emma, his warmth seeping into my bones, and hold him close. You're with me now, kid, I say, my voice catching. No one's taking you from me. My tickers, Emir, is still racing, but for the first time since that night in the Atlantic, I feel a weight lift. These women, Emma, who lost her sister, and Hannah, a stranger turned protector, risked everything for this boy. That's family, the kind I thought I'd lost with James. Nathan pulls me aside as the agents haul Miranda and her crew out. "Henry, you did it?" he says, his gray eyes warm with respect. "That recording's gold. Miranda's going down for life, and we've already nabbed 20 of her cronies' lawyers, doctors, even a dirty cop who fudged autopsies. Her network's crumbling, but we're still digging for stragglers." I nod, relief washing over me, but a nagging worry lingers. "What about Lucas?" I ask, glancing at the boy in my arms. "He's got no one left." Nathan claps my shoulder, a rare smile breaking through. "That's your call, Henry. But looks like he's got a grandpa who'll move heaven and earth for him." I think of Eleanor, how she'd have scooped Lucas up and sung him lullabies, and I know I've found my purpose again. James is led past me, his head bowed, and I catch a flicker of something regret, maybe, as he glances back. His lips move a silent, "I'm sorry, but I can't bring myself to respond." Clara's dragged out next, still cursing her defiance, fading into the night. I turn to Emma and Hannah, who are watching Lucas with the kind of love I wish James had shown me. "You two," I say, my voice thick, "you're the real heroes here." Emma wipes her eyes, smiling. "We're family now, Henry." Hannah nods, squeezing my hand. I look at Lucas, his little face peaceful, and feel Eleanor's presence like she's nodding approval from somewhere beyond. "What about those stragglers Nathan mentioned? Will Lucas grow up knowing the whole ugly truth?" If you're feeling this mix of relief and heartache, with me, hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe. Lucas's journey's just beginning, and I want you with us to see it unfold. You ever sit in a courtroom and feel like the air's too thick to breathe, even when justice is finally served? That's me, Henry Harper, 68 years old, perched on a hard wooden bench in a Boston courthouse this morning, my bad ticker thumping like it's trying to keep up with my thoughts. It's been a couple of months since that wild night in my old house when the FBI stormed in, cuffed Miranda Vaughn, and dragged James and Clara off for trying to drown me for my $3 billion. Today, the judge's gavel slams down life without parole for Miranda, 25 years for James, and 20 for Clara. The room buzzes as Miranda's cold smile fades, her sharp heels clicking against the floor as she's led away in chains. James, my son, looks at me from the defendant's table, his eyes red and wet, mouthing, "I'm sorry, Dad," like it's a lifeline. I turn my head, my heart splintering like an old oak split by lightning. I see the boy who fished with me on Cape Cod, the one I gave my Rolex to when he graduated. But that kid's buried under the man who chose greed over me. Clara's still spitting fire, her voice cutting through the murmurs as agents haul her out. "You'll rot with this!" "Henry," she snarls, her face twisted with hate. I don't flinch. She's getting what she deserves, but it doesn't erase the sting. James's lawyer slides me a letter after the sentencing, his handwriting shaky, filled with pleas. Dad, Clara, and Miranda pressured me. I was lost without Mom. The Rolex, it meant everything. But I messed up. I stare at it, my fingers itching to tear it open to hear his side. Eleanor's voice whispers in my ear, "Give him a chance, Henry, like she did when he skipped school as a teen." But every time I picture that yacht, the cold water closing over me, my chest tightens. I stuff the letter in my pocket unopened. Some wounds don't heal that fast, and I'm not ready to let him off the hook, not after he stood by while Clara tried to kill me. The courtroom empties, but my fight's not over. It's time for Lucas Lilly, the kid James and Clara bought to secure my fortune. I'm back in family court a week later, standing before a judge with kind eyes and gray hair, explaining why I need to adopt him. Nathan Brooks, the FBI guy who saved my bacon, tracked down Lily's family in Canada. They're a quiet bunch, grieving, but grateful. "You'll tell him about Lily, won't you?" the eldest sister asks over a crackling call, her voice thick with tears. "Every chance I get, I promise," my throat closing up. Lucas's birth certificate, faked by Miranda, listed James and Clara. But the truth, the real mother Lily died for him, needs to live on. The judge nods, signing the papers, and I feel a weight lift. Emma's beside me, her young face steady despite the scars of losing Lily. "I'm staying, Henry," she says, her voice soft but firm. Lucas needs us both, and I need this to honor Lily. At 22, she's choosing family over a life she could have run from. And it hits me hard. She's not just a kid I met in Sophie's kitchen. She's my daughter now in every way that counts. Back at Sophie's bed and breakfast, where this roller coaster started, she's waiting with a grin and a small wooden frame. Inside is a photo from the adoption day, me in my old blazer, Emma smiling wide, and Lucas, his tiny grin, lighting up the frame. Family ain't just blood. "Henry," Sophie says, her eyes twinkling like she's seen 1,000 storms and come out stronger. "It's the folks who choose to stand by you when the chips are down." I run my thumb over the glass, thinking of Eleanor, how she'd have scooped Lucas up and sung him lullabies. I failed James, gave him $2 million, my pride, my love, and he threw it away. But I won't fail this kid. Holding that frame, my ticker steadies. I'm not just some washed-up old man. I'm a dad again, for real this time, with a family I've earned. Nathan calls that afternoon, his voice crackling through the phone. "Henry, we've got 20 arrests locked in, lawyers, doctors, even a crooked cop who fudged those accidental deaths. Miranda's network is toast, but we're still hunting stragglers. You saved a lot of folks, old-timer." I chuckle, the first real laugh in months. "Just doing what's right, Nathan." But his words linger, stragglers. Is there someone still out there waiting to strike? I glance at Lucas, napping in Emma's lap, and wonder what he'll face as he grows. Will he ask about Lily, about James, about the mess that brought us here? I'll tell him the truth about her courage, his uncle's fall, and the love that pulled me through. You ever stand on a beach, the waves lapping at your feet, and feel like you've finally outrun the storm that's been chasing you? That's me, Henry Harper, 68 years old, standing on a quiet stretch of Gloucester shore this crisp spring afternoon, the salty breeze tugging at my old blazer. It's been about 6 months since that crazy night in my house when the FBI nabbed Miranda Vaughn for murdering 40 folks, including Emma's sister Lily, and locked up my son James and his wife Clara for trying to drown me over my $3 billion. My ticker's still a little shaky from that heart surgery last year, but holding Lucas Lily's hand as he toddles through the sand, I'm finding a peace I didn't think I'd ever feel again. Eleanor, my wife, would have scooped this kid up in a heartbeat, his dark eyes, his laugh like a chime in the wind. For the first time since she passed 2 years ago, I'm starting to let go of the hurt. I kneel down my knees, creaking like an old porch swing, and place a single daisy on the wet sand, watching the tide pull it gently out to sea. That's for your mom, Lucas, I say, my voice rough around the edges. Lily was a brave girl, just 17, with a heart full of dreams. She wanted to give you a good life, even if it cost her everything. I tell him about her, how Emma says she loved singing old folk tunes, how she trusted Miranda's fake charity, thinking she was helping a couple who couldn't have kids. I choke up picturing Lily's face from those old photos Emma shared and think of James, my boy, who fell into that same pit of greed. His letters keep coming from prison, each one a plea for forgiveness mentioning that damn Rolex I gave him when he graduated, like it's a ticket back to my good graces. "Dad, I was lost without Mom," he wrote last week. Clara pushed me, but I should have stopped her. Eleanor's voice echoes in my head, soft and pleading. "Give him a chance, Henry, like she did when he wrecked my car as a teen." But every time I see that yacht in my mind, the cold water closing over me, my heart hardens. I haven't written back. Some scars don't fade that quick, and I'm not ready to rip them open again. Emma's with us, kicking off her sneakers, chasing Lucas as he squeals and stumbles toward the waves. At 22, she's become the daughter I never had, choosing to stay in Boston after losing Lily. "He's gonna know her, Henry," she says, her voice steady but carrying that old ache. "Every song, every laugh, she'll live in him." I nod my throat tight, thinking of how Emma's pieced together Lily's life, from letters and memories turning pain into purpose. She's young, but she's got a spine of steel, and that's kept me going. 6 months ago, she was a stranger in Sophie's kitchen. Now she's family, helping me raise Lucas like he's her own nephew. Sophie Tran, that tough old gal who sheltered me when I was a wanted man, rolls up with a thermos of coffee and a grin that could light up a room. "You're a hero, Henry," she says, handing me a letter from Nathan Brooks, the FBI guy who turned the tide. Nathan's note reads, "20 arrests and counting. You saved lives, old-timer. Keep that kid close." I chuckle the first real laugh in a while and sip the coffee, feeling the warmth spread. Sophie plops down beside us, pulling out a small wooden frame with a photo from Lucas's adoption day, me in my weathered blazer, Emma's fierce smile, and Lucas's tiny grin. "Family ain't just blood," she says, her eyes misty but strong. "It's the folks who stick around when the chips are down." I run my thumb over the glass, thinking of Eleanor, how she'd have sung Lucas lullabies, how I failed James, but won't fail this kid. Holding that frame, my ticker steadies. I'm not just some washed-up old man. I'm a dad again, for real, with a family I've fought for. Lucas points at the waves, his little voice calling Mama, and my heart skips. Emma kneels beside him, explaining gently, "That's where Lily is watching over you." I watch them, feeling Eleanor's warmth, like she's standing right there nodding approval. Nathan's words about stragglers nag at me. Could there be someone still out there? A shadow from Miranda's network. I push it down, focusing on Lucas, on Emma, on this moment. Justice was served. Miranda's locked up James and Clara are paying. But this beach, this family, this is my healing. I gave James $2 million, my pride, my love, and he threw it away for greed. But here, with Emma and Sophie, I've built something better. The sun dips low, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. And Lucas runs back to me, sandy hands grabbing my legs. Emma laughs, her voice free for once, and we collapse into the sand, a tangled mess of joy. I think of Lily's courage, James's fall, and the love that's pulled me through. Lucas will know it all, the good, the ugly, the redemptive. What'll he make of it when he's older? Will he ask about his uncle, about the fight that saved him? I'll tell him straight, like Eleanor would have wanted about a grandpa who refused to give up, about a family forged in fire. This is my victory, my peace. So here I am, Henry Harper, 68 years old, standing on that Gloucester beach, with Lucas giggling in the sand, and I've learned something big. Family ain't about blood. It's about the folks who stick by you when the chips are down,